All right, guys. So we're back again with another week for the recap. Wow. I don't know. Something just feels weird, guys. I don't know. It's more like it. Week 3 recap. Let's get it in.
We going.
All right, guys. It's your man, your boys, always, Steve Shears, back with another episode of Bend, Don't Break. So let's get up into this week's Week 3 matchups. First one. First up this week, we have Ghost of Sparta versus Neo Cortex. Final score 174 to 225, giving Neo Cortex a win of 51 points. Neo Cortex really stepped it up this week, putting a hurting on Ghost of Sparta, making him the biggest loser this week. So let's jump into Neo Cortex's top 3 players this week. First up, we have AJ Green, who had 44 fantasy points, coming from 10 catches, 227 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Big play this week was a deep 80-yard pass, shaking off 2 defenders and getting the touchdown in the 4th quarter. Next up, we have Aaron Rodgers, who had 34 fantasy points, who threw for 333 yards, got 5 touchdowns this week. Next, certainly not least, we got Larry Fitzgerald, who had 34 fantasy points as well, from 9 catches and 134 yards, getting himself 2 touchdowns.
You win some, you lose some!
So for Neo Cortex, starting the season off on 0-2 and getting his first win against Ghost of Sparta. Really, when it comes down to it, you got the top quarterback, top receiver, and even also, not mentioned, but the top defense this week, kind of obligated to beat him. So, Neo Cortex, good job. Next up, we have Peekapoo versus Polygon Man. Final score, 157 to 162, giving Polygon Man the win by 5. Closest matchup this week. So let's break down how Polygon Man did it by breaking down his top 3 players this week. First up, we have Latavius Murray, who had 21 fantasy points from 26 carries, running for 139 yards, getting himself 1 touchdown. Nicest play this week was breaking the hole and going for a 54-yard run. Next, we have Odell Beckham Jr., who had 20 fantasy points from 7 catches, 79 yards, and 1 touchdown. Last, we have Julian Edelman, who had 16 points from 8 catches and 85 yards. Not bad, Polygon Man.
Do not hate.
Polygon Man, really good win. Got to give it to definitely the closest match this week with a 5-point difference. Little word of advice for Peekapoo. If you're trying to win, you might not want to put one of the worst quarterbacks so far going against the best defense so far. Just a little word of advice. Hey, but you know how it is. You win or you lose. Next matchup we have is Jiggly Slut versus Conkers. 121 to 160, giving Conkers the win by 39 fantasy points. So let's jump into Conkers' top 3 players this week. First up, we have Darren Sproles, who earned his team 21 fantasy points from 11 carries, going only for 17 yards and getting 1 touchdown. But this man had one of the most greatest plays this week with an 89-yard punt return going in for a touchdown. Second, we have Mark Ingram, 20 fantasy points for his team, from 14 carries and 50 yards, but also getting his team a touchdown. Last, we have Amari Cooper,
who had 19 fantasy points from 8 catches and going for 134 yards. These 3 players gave Conkers the victory he needed this week.
Okay. Really good win, Conkers. Can't knock that at all. I mean, unfortunately for Jiggly Slut, losing your quarterback, and then also think you're the only defense that went negative. That's definitely going to hurt. Definitely wouldn't have made a change in your loss or win. Loss in this case. So I got to give it to Conkers, Just love them TDs, man. Love them.
Next matchup, we have Las Vegas Red Zone Weapon versus Jack and Daxter's Eco Legends. Final score 131 to 164, giving Jack and Daxter the win by 33 points. Also making Jack and Daxter undefeated yet again. So let's jump into Jack and Daxter's top 3 players and see how he does it. First up, we have another return from Julio Jones with 40 fantasy points this week and 12 catches, going for 164 yards and getting 2 touchdowns. Nice play this week was a 2-yard touchdown, sealing their win over Dallas this week. Second up, we have Adrian Peterson, who had 24 fantasy points and 20 carries, 126 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Big play this week was a 43-yard run for a touchdown, starting with a nasty stiff arm to the face of Jimmy Wilson. Last, Broncos defense and special teams, 19 fantasy points, keeping their opponent to only earn 12 points this week, getting 2 interceptions and 1 fumble recovery, also getting 4 sacks, not a bad thing.
That's right, we bad.
All right, guys. So another win for Jack and Daxter. Not much to say about that one. He goes on undefeated. Fortunately for Red Zone Weapon, stepping into week 4, you definitely want to make some changes. Hopefully next week you can come with a W. But as for now, you're going in winless.
So final matchup this week, we have Donkey Kong D's Nuts versus Lincoln to Win It. Final score 157 to 136, giving Donkey Kong another win by 21 points, making Donkey Kong undefeated this week. So let's break down Donkey Kong's top 3 players this week. First player breakdown, we have Jeremy Macklin, who gave his team 28 fantasy points this week from 8 catches, 141 yards, and 1 touchdown. Highlights this week, Jeremy Macklin ended the Chiefs' wide receiver touchdown drought this week. Also, a nice play this week was juggling a pass for a catch, going for 61 yards. Next player up, we have Le'Veon Bell, who gave his team 26 fantasy points this week, who had 19 carries, going for 62 yards and getting 1 touchdown. Also, Bell had 7 catches, going for 70 yards. Highlight this week, the return. Next, we have Peyton Manning, who earned his team 18 fantasy points, throwing for 324 yards and getting 2 touchdowns. Only bad thing this week was 1 interception, but still he got his team the W.
So Donkey Kong D's Nuts, another win for him. Also going into week 4 undefeated. So congrats, Lincoln to Win It. You definitely got to make some changes too, buddy. Going to week 4, you can't go a whole season winless. So hopefully week 4. All right, guys. So we're at that point in the show where we had to depart. Thanks for watching as always. Definitely without you guys, there would be no Bend Don't Break. So next week it's definitely a great one. We got 2 teams who are undefeated. We'll see if anybody takes a loss. And then we got 2 teams who are winless. So let's see if somebody comes with a W and someone comes with a loss. Definitely looking forward to that next week. A couple other great matchups next week. So as always, Remember, we bend, we don't break. See you next week.